Anyway, movie review time. Tell us something that's out and may have been Oscar nominated.
Okay, so Close, which is the new film by Belgian director Lucas Dont.
Lucas?
Who Dont, D-H-O-N-T.
Okay.
So I'm thinking Dont. I'm thinking that must be right. Who made Girl back in 2018, which was successful but also controversial. So this is a tale of two young boys, just teenagers, who are just about to go into secondary school. And we meet them at the beginning of the picture, and they are completely in sync in that way that only very, very close childhood friends can be. They've got a kind of imaginary fantasy world that they live in. They pretty much finish each other's sentences. They're sort of physically, emotionally, intellectually, absolutely two sides of the same coin, and they are just as close can be. And very, very early on, I'll play you a clip now. They run through this field of flowers, which are about to be harvested, and it's joyous and vibrant and brilliant. And I'll translate this in case anybody doesn't, understand the original language, which we're going to play in the clip. One of those mothers, one of them says, "Oh, I'm staying at his house tonight," and the mother says, "Will we ever see you back at our?" And he says, "Maybe at some point in the future." That's how.
Is that what you say when you leave for London?
Will I ever see you again?
Yeah.
Maybe. Here's a clip.
Ils sont derrière, cours!
Je veux dormir chez Rémi ce soir. Tu vas venir chez nous un jour? Peut-être.
Will you ever come home? Peut-être.
Possibly.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, isn't it? So a superb score there as well by Valentin Hajjaj. What then happens is that at school, their fellow pupils, particularly girl pupils, says, "Are you two a couple?" And Leo, one of the boys, says, "No." She says, "You sure?" Remi, meanwhile, doesn't say anything at all. And Leo suddenly starts to think that he's being looked at in a way that he doesn't like at all. And so he starts to withdraw from his friend, to put distance between them, to move into different circles. He starts playing ice hockey, puts on the helmet, puts on the mask. Boys will be boys, much more kind of sort of macho activities. And his friend cannot understand what's happened, why this bond has been broken. And at first there's, fear and sadness, and then there's anger and aggression, and then something terrible. And then the rest of the film is about having to live with the consequences of your action and the kind of the anxiety of having broken a friendship that was perfect and having it precipitated something that you feel guilty about, and trying to wrestle with adolescence and growing up in this state of confusion. And I thought it was very, very affectingly done. The thing that impressed me most about it is that even though there are things in the story that are potentially melodramatic, the whole register of the film is very understated. Characters never say things out loud that they don't need to say out loud. I know I come back to this time and time again, but it really bothers me when people, extemporize. I mean, you're a writer. You know that the most perfectly described plot developments are the ones that don't involve a Dan Brown character explaining to you what's happened. And firstly, I thought the performances were great. The young performances were absolutely terrific, and actually, as were the adult performances. Remi's mother is beautifully played by the woman who actually starred in Rosetta, the Dardenne brothers film, which, of course, this does have a touch of the Dardennes about it. It has a touch of Lynn Ramsey's Ratcatcher about it. That kind of evocation of adolescence, the change between childhood and early adulthood, all the ways in which you feel. I mean, you just saw in that clip that, obviously if you're listening to the podcast, you're not seeing that, but the colours of the flowers, the vibrancy of them, the purple, the yellow, the way the camera was having to race to keep up with the two boys as they rushed through the thing. So it's a brilliant evocation of that kind of perfect bubble of friendship, which you only really get when you're that age, when every pop song sounds better than every other pop song. And then the extreme pain and anguish of that being broken and something terrible having, resulted from it. And I love the way the music worked. I thought that the music did a really good job of heightening the film's emotional power without ever feeling like it was telling me what sometimes you get a score that says this bit is sad and this bit is happy, and this it wasn't doing any of that. What it was doing was giving you that kind of sense of conflicting emotions. Do you remember the music for Moonlight? The Nicholas Britell music for Moonlight?
I remember the impact that it had and how it fitted, but I couldn't.
Okay.
I wouldn't know any melody from it.
I think there is a similarity with the Nicholas Britell score for Moonlight and this score by Valentin Hajjaj for this, in that it somehow captures that sense of your heart fluttering, your heart racing, your experience of the world being heightened, but also very conflicted and very, very sad and very kind of full of anguish and emotion. Anyway, I found it very powerful, and I think it's up for Best Foreign Language Film. It's representing Belgium at the Oscars, and it was also a prize winner at Cannes, where it shared the Grand Prix. But I would definitely recommend it because I love films that work emotionally without having to constantly explain why they're working emotionally. I think there is something very smart about the way in which the film describes its situations without having to explicitly describe its situations or feeling that it has to unpack or solve or correct anything at all. I thought it was a very, very fine piece of filmmaking. It's called Close.
Will we struggle to find it, do you think?
Well, it's a movie release, and I suspect that on the art house circuit, it will be quite prevalent because it's, as I said, it's an Oscar-nominated movie. So I suspect that it won't be as hard to find as, another sort of smaller independent release might be.
Interesting figures this week about how people are quite happy to watch. I mean, I'm paraphrasing. Depends on age group. Watch TV and movies with subtitles.
Yes.
And how obviously there's so much on the streaming services where you get stuff with subtitles. It's almost it's very, very common. And as we've talked about before, people watching UK and American releases in English and choosing to have them in subtitles. So therefore, that kind of generations old kind of, is it French? I don't know what's that. That's going to be a thing of the past.
I think that is a thing of the past. I think it's definitely becoming a thing of the past. And when, the director of Parasite talked about, what did he call it? The inch-high
barricade.
The inch-high barricade. I think the inch-high barricade has been successfully breached, certainly by the next generation of film and television watchers.
Thanks very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as we enjoyed making it. While you're here, check out all the other videos because they're cool too, aren't they?
Yeah, and if you want to keep up to date with everything Kermode and Mayo's take, then check out our social channels.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
I mean, I would. I have done.
Excellent.